Hi, everybody. So we're going to do a question and answer today, and I'm going to go through the email questions, as many as I can. And I just want to remind everybody that if they have a question that they really need to have answered, that they can ask themselves if they can get clear on it. I do have people that I recommend for readings if you need to have a reading. If you need somebody for health care, then I recommend naturopathic doctors. They're my favorite. And also a lot of different energy healers. And I have stuff for that myself. So if you're in an emergency, please get help immediately if you're sending me an email. Okay. Remember that a lot of things that are health related have to do with parasites and different things like that. But naturopathic doctors are probably my favorite. So, anyway, let's get into the questions. I hope you guys are doing well. Okay, so this first question is about healing, and it's from Karin, and she's from Sweden. So, hopefully, I pronounced that right. But she's asking about her eye, which, if it's cloudy out, she doesn't see very well out of that eye. I get that there is a shadow that's attached. So you want to deal with that. It's one that's been hidden for a really long time. And it has to do, it's like affected the inner child at this point, a little bit more than the soul, but it's a soul shadow. So you want to clear that and just ask your angels to assist. And then ask your inner child what they do not want to see. So the right side of the body is the masculine side, and the other side, the left side, is the feminine side. And I would go see a naturopathic doctor if you can, because they may have other solutions for the cloudiness that's going on. Okay. On YouTube, I probably can't say some things, but I would go look that up, what some of the remedies are for that. And I believe one may have to do with honey and, the condiment, and one may have to do with vinegar. So go look those up and see how you feel about them. Okay. So we're going to go to the next one. Okay, so this one's from Dale, and I'm going to show you some of the pictures that she sent. And she's asking about an electrical fairy, basically. So, an electric light fairy that she witnessed when she was a child. And they were able to take some pictures, which is amazing. So, these are pictures of the pictures. And it's like squiggly lines of light. Where did it come from? I get they follow her around everywhere. She is an elemental, and so that was part of her soul group. And they were playing with her. So this one actually looks like it's hanging on to that. And this one, when I first saw it, I thought of a fairy kind of, leaning back. So leaning back and just absolutely delighted to be there. So anyway, what about this fairy? I feel like there was more than one. Um, they were really excited to see you. You were young enough that they believed that you would accept that it was them. And they just love you. That's part of your, not only your soul group, but your village. So whatever village you originated from, with the fairy elemental group that you came from. They're just so happy to see you. So I think that is just so much fun. So remember that your soul group is paying attention to you at all times. There is no separation. We think that there's so much separation, but it's only because we don't see the light, most of the light spectrum. So there actually isn't any separation. You could have 20 fairies around you, but you can't see them. You can have an ET sitting right next to you, but you can't see them because we don't see 99% of the light spectrum. So we have no idea what's actually going on around us. We're totally like aware of our own little thing. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about could it be real? Very likely is real. Okay, so this is a really good question, and it comes from Steve, and he says, I may have missed information on this. Would you speak to where our souls would have derived from? In my research, I can't say that I have noticed any affinity towards any specific race, such as Syrian, Arcturian, or any other mainly highly advanced groups, which our avatar was created to assist in soul evolution. Okay, so there are a few different general soul groups. There are the architects, the angels, the ETs, the titans, and humanity, and the humans. Okay, so you are one of those five. If you don't identify as an ET, oops, if you don't identify as an ET, then you are one of the other four. Okay. Most of us are either a Titan, a architect, or an ET. What's the other one? Or an angel, an angelic, in a human body with a human soul. So we're here to help humanity rise in frequency because they agreed to be in the lower frequency so that we could learn. So all the soul groups could learn. So if you don't identify as an ET, then you could be an architect, you could be an angelic, or you could be a Titan. I feel like it's those three. So think about that. What resonates to you? So the architects were born first. Okay. They learn how to create all the matrices that are everywhere, all the learning games. They learned divine math. They created divine math. They're constantly consulting with God source. The angelics were created to be like the army because we were in a polarized universe. So they were created to fight for good. And then some actually chose to not be good as far as like they kind of fell. So those would be the dark angels. But the dark angels have been healed at this point. So, and then the titans, if you feel like, extremely big in your body, like your body's very confined, if you feel, it's going to sound crazy, but if you feel like a Scottish guy, wearing a kilt who is indestructible, then you could be a Titan. So they are all emotion. So they're extremely emotional. So that is where a lot of the emotion came from. And you may not be an ET originally, but souls are born in those different groups at this point. We also have dragons, but they came from another universe. Now, if you could be a dragon as well, so feel into that. But those are the groups. So hopefully that helps. That probably creates more questions. Okay, so here's a great question from Vanessa. So I dreamed that I was a dragon. Is this true? I was in my nest, a high place, and I looked down and saw many dragons. I even knew what I was eating up in my nest. So, yes, you are a dragon in a parallel right now. And I don't believe that you are a dragon soul, but just because you have a different soul doesn't mean that you don't get to go and experience different bodies. So I think a lot of us have been dragons. I think a lot of us have been multiple different kinds of ETs. We have been, all kinds of things. So whoever has a body, whatever being has a body, a lot of people have experienced that body. So in the last question, I forgot the elementals. So we also have the elemental souls. So these are the fairies. These are the sprites. They are druids, all kinds of things. The fae in the elementals, elves. So I don't want to forget about them either. So Steve, if you feel like you're an elemental, that is also possible. Yeah. Now, humanity was the last soul group born. So we contain aspects of all of the soul groups. So your inner child is what I call the human consciousness, but it's actually like another soul inside of you. And your other soul is an older soul, and it's here to help you go through ascension. So it's basically like you got a mentor to go through ascension. And they're helping us all to rise in frequency. So it's a really cool time to be alive because we're remembering who we are. And I think that's a lot of fun. So hopefully that helps. Okay, so these are from Britt, and she's got two really good questions. So her first question is about free energy and what is the nuclear power plant for, basically. I get that there's a lot of experimentation going on there. It does create power. It's kind of doesn't feel clean to me, actually. And it's not exactly what it seems to be. And I don't think we'll be using them in the future because we won't need them. There will be a lot of perpetual motion. There will be ether, which is what you're talking about on top of the old buildings. And also what I think the current system is doing and using as well. So just look at the top of the power lines and those power stations, and you'll get some ideas there. I don't feel that we're going to use any kind of money for power in the future, except for maybe setup. So setup, there might be some money involved, just like when you build a solar system. But I don't think solar is going to be used in the future either. So keep that in mind. They've been charging because it's a way to suppress. And I don't think that we're going to be charged for that in the future. No. So the second question is, why do we stare at things? It's a form of an altered state so that you can be almost like in a meditative state. So she's wondering if people are getting downloads at that point. They are getting downloads, they're getting expansion. You know how when you stare at the fire, we just went camping, and if you stare at the fire, it's almost like everything just stops because you're actually absorbing information at that time. And when you shut down the brain, then a lot of stuff can actually kind of expand inside of you. So it's actually not a bad thing to be doing. So staring at a candle is a good thing to do when you are trying to get into a certain state of mind so that you can receive information because it shuts down the monkey mind part of the brain. So think about that a little bit because it's another great way that I don't ever talk about for you to basically get tuned in. Okay, so I'm going to answer this last question, and it's from Suzanne. So, my brother has a little dog who has a big problem with his right eye. So, the right eye seems to be a thing. It was enlarged and red, not red in the white of the eye, but the actual eye was totally red. The vet says that he has an ulcer. It's not getting better. I don't know if he's in pain. Can you see how you may be able to help him? So, first thing I would do is ask if he wants to get better and get a yes or no on that. I get a yes. He has some things that he doesn't want to see. So if you have an issue in the body, if it's with the eyes, you don't want to see it. If it's in the digestive tract, you don't want to digest it, absorb it. So think about where it's at. And it's no different for animals than it is for human beings. And what I'm getting is to clear the emotional attachment that he has to not seeing some kind of masculine thing. So it could be a protection feeling, something like that. And it could come from a parallel. It could be to do with his soul. It feels like it's more to do with his soul than his doggy consciousness. So anyway, tap into that, ask if his angels can help him clear it. And then what I'm getting is to use Reiki. So you can take him to the vet again if you want. And I'm not a veterinarian, but Reiki is a thing and it's very easy and animals really actually like it. So using Reiki on the dog will probably do some things that may surprise you that are good. So think about that. Dogs and cats really enjoy energy medicine and they will sit still for it. They know what you're doing and they may be able to actually see more of it than you do. So, and I don't believe that you have to take a course. Buy a book, watch a video, feel the energy in your hands and see what happens. Make sure your intention is very good and see what happens for your animals. The first time that I did Reiki, I read a book. I learned about it, read a book. I am certified in it now. And, I've gone into the master class of that, but I don't practice it with symbols and things like that. It is the energy that comes from the palms of your hands. Okay, sending you guys so much love. I hope you have a fabulous day, and I will talk to you very soon. Okay, bye, everybody.